So revelation, the awe, the unity, the immanence of God, the almost sureness that there was a revelation and that there is a God, even though I'm sure a little doubt remained for some, maybe many. But that as we go away from that moment, how do we apply the theory? How do we incorporate, as new humans carrying forth this revelation into the world, the implementation of the brilliance, that spark, it's a different skill set. So I am going to just focus on one pasuk, because how else will we turn to each other and talk about anything? Like, we have to be really focused here. So I chose this one, which comes sort of in the middle of Mishpatim. It says, part A, you shall not revile. The verb is mekalel, like to curse, God. That's the first part, part A. You shall not curse God. So, echoes of one of the commandments, perhaps. The verb is translated often as don't take the Lord's name in vain. Alter says vilify, which I really liked. God, okay? Part B, just one little verse. And, or nor. Put a curse on the nasi among your people. Don't put a curse from the verb, different verb, of course, has to be different. Arur lecha. Wow, it's severe. And some people translate this as upon a chieftain amongst your people. Okay, so that's the verse. Don't curse God and don't curse the nasi. Don't curse the leader, the secular leader, right? So are we remembering sort of Moshe standing there trying to channel what God wanted to give the people answers for their possibly theological questions? Or maybe like, how do I, separate my socks on Shabbos? And then he was supposed to delegate. So here we revisit. And so what's the relationship between the first part, cursing God, and cursing a leader? All right, so the law of not cursing leaders appears in Parshat Mishpatim, the section of the Torah that directly follows the giving of the Ten Commandments. We have already been told they're not to take God's name in vain. The follow-up law is thus seemingly redundant, yet Mishpatim places a different emphasis on the law by giving us an implied backstory. If you want to realize the headline principles of the Ten Commandments, you have to solve the interpersonal and social questions that vex people day to day. The Ten Commandments don't get violated in a vacuum at Sinai, and Mishpatim concerns the question of what it takes to build a good society, a kind of plausibility structure in which people can be faithful to the covenant. So what is the relationship between cursing God and cursing a leader? Just think in your own mind what's going on today. Leaders in your work, leaders in your city, leaders in your country, leaders in the world, leaders perhaps in our other country, Israel. I'm just saying. So, one idea, the spare biblical text leaves the causal and connective reasoning up to us between the connection. An obvious answer is that human leaders embody and represent a higher authority, especially a Nasi, the original word, is supposed to. Like, we all probably have heard of Yehuda Hanasi, the person who codified the Mishnah. He was like president, and we call the president of Israel now, by the way, Hanasi. Okay, so let's see. Okay. To curse them, to curse a leader, is to curse God, because they are, in their envisioning, supposed to represent the divine and to represent the decision making of parsing out all of these divine commandments. But what about illegitimate leaders? Must we really hold our tongues? Bava Batra 4a teaches we must hold our tongues. Okay, well, you were going to discuss this. Okay, we must respect authorities. We must respect, because we have to respect the office itself, even if they don't. And we know perhaps there might have been a recent United States president who didn't exactly treat the office as the way that the lineage of presidents have treated it, as something really sacred. Just saying, that's my own opinion. Excuse me if I'm offending anyone. Okay, the Babylonian sage Abaye also holds a version of this position. For him, it is wrong to curse not just leaders, but any Jew, since the word he translates nasi, chieftain, in its expansive form, and it's very democratic, and he says that when you curse a leader, it really means that you're cursing humanity, or you're cursing other members of your community, because they represent us just like maybe the Nasi represents Hashem. Okay, cursing for those guys is beyond the pale, even when dealing with wrongdoers. This might be because cursing is like sorcery, which was just forbidden a few sentences earlier, but it's an interesting thing. Like, it's a very serious commandment not to curse, and it's an explanation of one of the 10 commandments, so a further exploration of it. So it's interesting to think about what's our responsibility as good Jews and good humans. Are we supposed to curse or not? Okay, so my son Zohar said in his commentary, sorry, last year, I had to go to the archives for, overnight assignment. Shouldn't we instead say that bad leaders have already created the conditions whereby God has lost legitimacy and therefore is basically cursed? Often people leave religion not because they have a theological crisis, but because they have a human one. A traumatic encounter with a religious authority, raise your hand, spoils the entire endeavor. The verse is descriptively true. The cursing of God and the cursing of people come together. Perhaps it is the corruption of leaders that it is the first curse, and the person reacting to that corruption is simply naming the damage that has already been done. Why lay the onus of respect on the victims? So in his disagreement with Abaye, another authority, Rabbah, argues that authority can be lost. In other words, you do something so bad, then you can be cursed because you're not God anymore. Imagine that blasphemous thought. Or you're not the Nazi anymore. So it's like a loophole. Like, you can curse them now because they've fallen. It is conferred only insofar as the leader acts on behalf of the people. Corrupt authorities, in fact, must be cursed, Rabbah says. It's our obligation to curse. There are times when one has a duty to curse, to speak out negatively against evil, especially amongst leaders. And if the chieftain can be expanded to mean all of us, then we also are obliged to curse our fellows. So basically, two scholars, opposite conclusions. We're used to this. One says that when we engage in toxic speech, even speech not directly, explicitly at God, we effectively engage in blasphemy against God. Another, Rabbah, says that when we maintain a veneer of politeness, when we ought to be turning the temperature up, we effectively engage in blasphemy. So, you're going to turn to your partner for 10 minutes, and I have a few different prompts, so you can decide which one you want to go right for. So here's the basic question. What do you think is the relationship between cursing a leader or a person and cursing God? What is part B's relationship to part A? Forget these scholars. What do you think? Why are they in the same sentence? Okay? That's a good prompt. I like that one. Let's see. Okay. Yeah, and then the other thing is, if you feel like commenting, which side of that argument are you on? Abaye or Rabbah? And, you know, how is your behavior in the world? Like, what do you think you actually manifest? Are you prone to cursing and or not? Respecting the office, whatever. Okay, and then do you feel like, which way should you be commanded? And then my deeper question, if you want to go there, but only if you're comfortable, forget the first stuff. If you feel so inclined, speak instead about a person or a time when you cursed God, and why.
I have a question.
Yes.
So when you use the word curse,
Yes.
I don't know if there's an operative definition there, but
Yes, I should have explained it.
does
Yeah.
it also mean, like, if you disagree and you assertively stand up for your beliefs in a direct way, but maybe kindness, but
I think
also,
cursing means you really are vitriolic toward the person, you hex them, you
I see.
embarrass them publicly. I mean, I don't know. It could be many different things, but you would probably know the roots better of these words, Mikalel. Like, if you curse God, you are put to death with stoning in public.
And
I
this
mean,
is
it
like-
happens in the Torah actually a few times.
And it's the same verb used for when Balaam comes and is supposed to put a curse over the people, and instead it turns into a blessing. But that's also the same root for.
Right. And how much time do we
Thank
have?
you for asking the question, because what I was thinking about this topic or a different one, and the other one was the speech act, how the Torah entrusts us that our words really make reality. And in that way we are like the divine, saying Vayihi Or, and creating the world through speech, and that we get to be in God's image in that way. And oh my God, all the more reason that we should wonder about whether to curse or not. Yeah, so I could say more, but basically when you curse, I think it was thought, at least in the Torah times, and maybe now too, like that you're,
Placing a
yeah,
curse.
it's gonna matter. Like if you say somebody should die, like there's so many good Italian curses that are coming out. You know, that it would happen, that it would actually happen. Okay, so it's not only protesting or arguing, this is more serious, more emotional, more like cutting off, you know. Okay, so I don't know how much time I'm supposed to get in all, but I think it's 5:34. Like I was thinking 10 minutes and then come back together for like 2 minutes or 3. Okay.
Yes.
Do you want to join me in?